And say welcome to Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide, that we are here by divine appointment, that nothing happens by chance. We heard the call and we answered. And our viewing audience, we welcome you with us to our interfaith community, because it's because of this community that you can experience our message every single Sunday. And I do want to acknowledge our videographer, Julian Paul Hernandez, who's also one of our Facebook friends. So it is so wonderful, isn't it, to see the tapestry of how the energy works, and that each image, each person is doing so much to bring this message not only every Sunday, but out into the world, into the ethers, into the worldwide web, so that we can tip the scales in favor of spirituality. Isn't that what we want to do?
Yes.
Absolutely. Our daily life is our temple and our religion. And as I have said, when it's 6:30 on our evolutionary clock, we are here. We are forward in it and advancing spirituality by improving our daily life, by seeing those shadows within ourselves and shining light on them so that they flee away forever. And today our topic is Go For It. And it's a very popular topic. And our theme is about these universal laws of life. That we are using the universal laws of life every time we think into the law of mind. That is creative energy that is going into the law of mind. So we're all creators and co-creators with the divine. And our God is a God of love. Our God is a God of acceptance. Our God is a God of oneness beyond color, race, creed, or sexual orientation. We are all one. That is our God. Do you agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. A God of oneness that embraces all. And we can feel the everlasting arms around us. And what I want to share with you is something that I've had for several years, and I bring it out of the archives every few years because I think it is absolutely so powerful. And it's called It Depends on Whose Hands It's In. And as we look at Go For It, we think about motivational science and going for it no matter what. But there is an energy in the universe that is greater than we are. And as we open to it, we become that. It depends on whose hands it's in. A basketball in my hands is worth about $19. A basketball in Michael Jordan's hands is worth about $33 million. It depends what? On whose hands it's in. A baseball in my hands is worth about $6. A baseball in Mark McGuire's hands is worth about $19 million. It depends upon whose hands it's in. A tennis racket is useless in my hands, literally. A tennis racket in Pete Sampras' hands is a Wimbledon championship. It depends what? On whose hands it's in. A rod in my hands will keep away a wild animal. A rod in Moses' hands will part the mighty Red Sea. It depends on what? Whose hands it's in. A slingshot in my hands is a kid's toy. A slingshot in David's hands is a mighty weapon. It depends on what? Whose hands it's in. 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread in my hands is a couple of fish sandwiches. 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread in Jesus' hands will feed thousands. It depends on what? Whose hands it's in. A brush in my hands might produce a painting. A brush in Michelangelo's hands will produce a masterpiece. As you see now, it depends on whose hands it's in. So put your concerns, your worries, your fears, your hopes, your dreams, your families, your relationships in God's hands, because it depends on whose hands it's in. As we come together to acknowledge the Go For It, that Go For It, the energy that allows us to be all that we can be spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and financially. We are whole in every area of our life as we come to acknowledge the balance. And the spiritual life is our ground of being. And when we are out there in the relative world, and believe me, that is not the real world. That is the world of conditions, appearances, effects. Someone on Facebook said, that change may be the only permanent thing in life, but it's what he has for breakfast every morning as he gets to confront his fears. And what I shared with him is, as I walk my path, fear becomes a rather friendly adversary, a worthy opponent, making me look within myself. So better to hold hands with our fear and bring it in. Lincoln said it best. How do I make, I have these enemies, I make them a friend. They're no longer an enemy. So fear is a worthy opponent. It is a kind of friendly adversary that brings up in us what we need to heal, what we need to release, what we need to look at, what we've suppressed that keeps coming up as we push it down. It comes up, and then we give way to worry, which is morbid use of the visualizing capacity of our minds. So to breathe and just acknowledge that if I'm going for it, my ground of being is spiritual awareness. I saw a bumper sticker, and I love bumper sticker wisdom. It's so great. It said, I've learned so much from my mistakes, I'm thinking of making a lot more of them. Hey, better than the alternative. Because if we're not learning from our mistakes, we're getting to do it over and over and over again. And we remember what Einstein said. He said so many things, didn't he? But I love what he said about insanity. Is doing the same thing you've always done and expecting a different result. So when we see that we're growing, we're no longer reacting to the things that we used to react to. When I was in Nigeria speaking to 20,000 students and faculty, 3 different universities, it was such an amazing experience, amazing. And there was a television in each room. We stayed on the grounds at Madonna University in the convent. And so there was a television in each room, and it got one station, it was CNN. So I would tune in because it was the first Thanksgiving that I've ever been away, and I was feeling a little nostalgic, a little homesick. And my first Thanksgiving, no one even knows here that it's Thanksgiving. So, after I gave my talk, and I do engage, and I do not read my talk, where many speakers, English is a second language, and they read their talks. I really engage in that energy, and I share. Today is Thanksgiving. I know that every day really should be Thanksgiving, but in our country, it's a national holiday. So as I tune in, I see Obama, blessing the turkeys, pardoning them, and sending them out to Mount Vernon. I'm a vegetarian. I like that very much. So that's what I get to tune into when I'm on Thanksgiving. And what was so amazing about, this experience for me, and the opportunity that was there energetically, is that we do get to draw the larger circle. That when he draws a circle that shuts me out, then that alerts us, doesn't it? Then Love and I have the wit to win. We draw a circle that brings him in. That energetically we are all one, regardless of color, race, creed, or sexual orientation. Our God is a God of oneness. If we are going to go for it, if we are going to acknowledge our ground of being is that place in which we live and move and have our being, that we choose to call it God, whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever we put energetically, that higher power is there. And we know that that which is within us is greater than that which resides in the world of conditions, appearances, and effects. So our going for it is our ground of being, that spiritual realization that allows us to feel that oneness. And when I was in Nigeria, and I was in that space of the convent, and I was tuning in CNN, I was amazed because they had an Italian man named Alex. I attempted to Google Alex the Italian. Nothing came up for me, but here I am in Nigeria. I'm tuning in. I got CNN, BBC style. Alex the Italian goes to California, Huntington Beach, because he's a motivational science. He speaks all over the world. He's a motivational speaker. He's into motivational science. And he noticed that, he was running out of material. So he thought, I'll go to Huntington Beach, California, and I will start out in Huntington Beach, and I will run all the way to Central Park in New York. Now, when they say in Italy it's just down the block or two, it sort of is. But to start in Huntington Beach and say, and look on the map, oh, it's only there to there. My daughter and I had a joke when we went through Europe. Oh, it's only, there to there, but, you're walking for 2 hours. So he starts out in Huntington Beach. He goes on this cross-country run. He actually makes it to Central Park. The press is there, and they said, why? And he said, why not? He said, I learned so much. Life is like making this cross-country run from Huntington Beach, California to Central Park. And I'll go back to Italy and to my countrymen, and I will share these experiences of all that I went through, because that's life. It rained, it thundered, it stormed, it hailed. People were at times hostile, and people were kind, and the sun shone forth. He said, isn't that all of life? And that he took the equation. I mean, I think, if I, want some new material, trust me, I will not be going to Huntington Beach and jog to Central Park at all. But I thought, what an amazing man to do such a thing. And it came on several times, that CNN repeats itself a lot, because I guess there's just, only so much you can share. And each time that I experienced him, I experienced the energy and the profound deepening that it gave him for his life. That all of life's experiences are there for us. And that if we go for it spiritually, then maybe we're going to get up a half hour earlier every morning and we're going to meditate. We're going to go within to the secret place of the Most High. Be still and know that I am God. That's who we are. Be still and know, the psalmist says, I am God. That means not outside of us. It means right where we are. And I love it. As our humanness gives way to the divine, the Christ consciousness arises triumphant and victorious. Yes, the Buddha nature, the universal I am presence, that when Moses parted the Red Sea, he was so clear within himself that he and God were the majority. We have a lot of Red Seas that we need to part in our lives. Do we take the rod of truth? Do we, and I loved when the Bible says, and this is a beautiful, our sacred mythology is the Bible. And I love that our own Reverend Mike did metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, because metaphysically it all means something. We do not take the Bible literally. It is a metaphor for living. It is our sacred mythology. And in that instruction from Yahweh, he said, the sea will not part until every man, woman, and child immerses themselves in the Red Sea. In other words, I cannot just stick a toe in and say, oh, please part, because, I'm making the effort. The universe does not respond to that. We got to jump in and get wet. And guess what? The universe opens for us and says, this is a serious student of truth. We smile on your conviction. We smile on your feeling. We acknowledge the truth of your being and the profound sense of who and what you are. We got to go up to the seas of life, and we've got to absolutely know that this amazing experience, this appearance of an obstacle, whatever problem is in our life, that God and I are the majority, and we're going to jump in and we're going to embrace it. And when you embrace it, it disappears in the natural process of life itself. It's like so many times that I have said that, I'm willing to do something, and then something, and I've got to squeeze it in or whatever, and out of my willingness to do it, I don't have to, someone else comes in. Yesterday I performed a wedding ceremony at the Rose of Sharron Sanctuary in my home. And it was so interesting because this man called and he had seen me online and said, may we get married there? And I said, absolutely. And he said, well, tell me about the wedding ceremony. I said, it's spiritual. It's not religious. It's acknowledging that this is a commitment you made long before you made this call to me. Just as we come into a spiritual center, you make a commitment to your spiritual life. And then we grow and unfold in amazing ways. And that as the wedding party came in, it's interesting, they were wafted in. They said, oh, it's so loving here. Oh, the energy's so fantastic. We were just sort of wafted in. And as I'm performing the marriage ceremony and acknowledging that it isn't just your particular marriage, it is every marriage that ever was or ever will be. It is the time in the human heart when it says, I am prepared. I am ready to be married to the counterpart of myself. And this we are acknowledging that it's not really two people. It's a oneness coming together and expanding the circle of life. Isn't it interesting that when people want to go for a relationship and we don't see them for months, we go, where are they? And we just all kind of nod our heads and say, oh, well, they're in a relationship. Oh, yes. That's why we haven't seen them. They just haven't come up for air yet. Yeah, but they will. They will. So what I know at the deepest level is that relationships are expansive. Relationships are knowing God better through that relationship in all its intimacy and love, truth and beauty. That's what true relationship is. Not attachment, not the unholy alliance that the Course in Miracles talks about. It's that relationship within us, that we are knowing God better through our relationship, because you are as close to God as I am ever going to get. And I am as close to God as you are ever going to get. When we get that about relationship, our whole world opens up. And so he was just sobbing. He was weeping, the groom. She took out her little lace kerchief and she dabbed his eyes. It was just so precious. And I thought, straight men have come a long way. And there it was, energetically, this bubble of love and beauty and truth. And everyone there was wafted up in that energy field, because we know that love is the strongest healing energy in the universe. If I'm going to go for it, love points the way and law makes the way possible. If I'm going to go for it, I'm going to absolutely stand up to my Goliath. Whatever that Goliath is, I'm going to stand up to it. And people may be laughing and saying, oh yeah, right. But that little slingshot, what did it do? This giant just fell before the energy of God's love by means of David, didn't it? So when we have things that we are looking at, it depends on whose hands it's in. And if I know at the deepest level that I put it in God's hands, that I do my spiritual work, that I work on myself, that when my ego rears its head, that I can look at it and say, what is this about? Because we know that the ego is about fear. It's fear-based. It's about lack, limitation, and scarcity. But when I put it in God's hands, there is abundance, prosperity, expansion, and knowingness. I'm going for it. I'm going for the spirituality. I'm going for the peace of mind. I'm going for the vitality in my body temple. I'm going for the relationships that are loving and supportive and reciprocal and wonderful and magical. I'm going for the financial acknowledgement that God is my source, my needs are met, and I have enough to give, to share, and to expand. This is why we are in this way of life. This is for the reason why we came, because we know it depends on whose hands it's in. So now, I offer it up to all of us. It's in our hands. Our lives are in our hands, and as we offer our lives up to that higher power in God's hands, whatever we conceive our God to be, we know that it is perfect just the way it is. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this way of life, for this realization that God and I are the majority. I'm going for it. It's here. I accept it. I receive it, and I give it back, because I am never going to outgive God. God bless you. I love you. And I say, we are going higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.